Well, welcome back to Legends Day coverage, Facebook Live coverage from Clinton Raceway, the beautiful town of Clinton, Ontario. We've got a special guest joining us now at the desk, Bill O'Donnell, the president of COSIST and Central Standardbred Association of Ontario, joining us, the sponsor of this series of races. And one of the legends, you've competed in this race. Today you're not driving, but still must be wonderful to be a part of it.
It is. It's the first time that I haven't participated. My last drive ever was here 2 years ago. So yeah, it's great. I mean, look at the crowd here we have here today, and it's a happening.
So why aren't you driving? Have you just totally given it up?
Yep.
You called it.
Yep.
Okay.
My history's in the past. Yep.
And what about the old competitive juices, though? Do you sit here and go, geez, I wouldn't mind being in this against these guys?
Oh yeah, especially this time of year when the weather's good and the stake races are on and that kind of stuff. Oh, absolutely.
So here at Legends Day, you've taken part in all of them in the past. Coming here this year, obviously an event you didn't want to miss, but what's it like when you get that call? Is it something that you look forward to taking part in every 2 years?
Yeah, and Ian keeps it that way too. It doesn't wear itself out. Like you wonder, maybe it's going to someday, but there was more of a crowd here today when we're sitting over the table than there has been the last 2 times maybe, right? And yeah, it's great. You know what? Like he'll call you, Ian, he stays on top of everything. He'll call you like in March and tell you that put this date down and everything's set, and he'll call you to do this and do that, and everybody participates and does their part, right?
A big part of it has to be you're getting together with these guys that you drove against, over a long career and some of the biggest races, and just catching up with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Ronnie, he's around here, and Trevor and Steve and Doug. I mean, they're still around Ontario, and you don't see them as much as you used to. Ronnie sometimes too much, but the rest of them are pretty infrequent, right?
What's it going to be like today for a couple of those gentlemen who haven't been competing in races in the past few years? Steve Condren, Trevor Ritchie getting back in the bike, yourself. When you go on that hiatus and then you get back into the sulky, is there any nerves? What do you think going through their minds?
Your arms will be sore tomorrow. That's all. Other than the rest of it, no. It's like riding a bike, right? I mean, once you score down and you get behind the gate, it's just like old hat, right? You can close your eyes and go around there maybe.
We talked about the career statistics of the 7 driving here today. Collectively, it's incredible when you tally the numbers. All great drivers in their own right. They've all carved out wonderful careers in different jurisdictions. What's the common denominator? What makes a top driver?
Good horse, first of all. I mean, but you got to earn that too. Usually, I mean, in my situation, I didn't. I was very lucky when I went to work for Mrs. Gray, that we had a horse there that was a top horse, and I got to drive him. First race I ever won was a preferred race, which I'm thankful for that from her. And but most guys, but I had a lot of cheap horses too that I had to kind of wean myself on and cut my teeth on. But I think, I don't really know. I've been asked that a million times. I don't know. I just think it's you got to think like a horse. All you're really doing, you're doing the thinking for the horse. Horse is doing the work, obviously, but you just try to put him in the right position at the head of the stretch that he's not too tired. That was always my thinking, and watch the good guys. You learn from the good guys. I mean, that's I did. I mean, I watched a lot of good guys, and you learn from them.
When you watch the style of racing today, the drivers that are at the top of the sport now, would Bill O'Donnell be the same driver now that he was in the 80s?
No, absolutely not. Watching races now, and a horse can go a whole mile now, a sprint. In my day, when I started, they couldn't do that. The breed has evolved so much in the last 30 years, I would say. They're beautiful, big, strong animals with a big, long stride and lots of speed and lots of endurance. We didn't have that, especially where I came from in the Maritimes and in New England until later on at the Meadowlands. But could I now, if I did what a lot of guys do with a horse now, I'd get fired. They couldn't, because they wouldn't win. I mean, now they win, right? I mean, right. But that's the driving style. And hats off to a guy like Wally Hennessy. He's been driving 40 years, right, or more, 45 years, and he's adapted to each one. I'm not so sure I could have done that. But
those competitive juices that you talked about, you won't be racing here today, but of these gentlemen that are competing today, who is probably the ones that you compete against, maybe the fiercest competitor?
I think Waples, probably Ronnie. Yeah. he was he was a great driver, very very good driver, and I'm grateful that he had a big stable and he couldn't drive in a lot of the races or get catch drives because he was very very competitive. And Doug Brown, I mean, you can name all of them. I think. I mean, every one of them. Trevor, Richie. I mean, he had did a great job. I can't say one that didn't. I mean, they were all very very competitive.
Tell us about the transition for you from a top catch driver then toward the end of your driving career. You're doing some training and driving, and now a new role the last few years as president of COSA. How different is that from the making a living driving horses?
Well, driving horses, I didn't have much choice. I didn't make my own decisions other than what horse I was going to take. Training horses, I own, pieces or all of them. I made my own decisions. Now, on this side of the fence, you're trying to convince somebody to make good decisions for the industry. And you know what? It's a lot of people you deal with, they're not very well versed in this industry. And I enjoy sitting down with them and trying to explain things and with the government people, and they've done a great job. They've really helped us here, especially after the slot deal was canceled, and we're still here.
Yep, a lot of changes in the industry in the last few years. It's not the traditional way of doing things that people that have been lifers, and especially on the racetrack side, have been used to. We've been kind of having to find our way as an industry. And how do you think we've done overall?
Well, I think pretty good. I think, when they had the slot money, it was just kind of, it's there, right? I mean, you came and raced for it, and I think everybody's guilty on both sides, maybe for not keeping it boosted up, but now we have to. Like it's a subsidy now. It's going to get looked at in 7 years, and another 5 years, another 5 years. And I think when they look at it, I don't think the government, and I can't speak for the government, it's going to be here in 7 years, but when they look at something and you're trying, I think they're willing to help you. And we convinced them of that, I guess, in the beginning, and they've allowed us to do this. So I think everybody's done a good job.
Okay. And adapting with the times is obviously something that every industry has to do. And you look at these broadcasts that we're putting together, which COSA has kindly sponsored, and it's something we've talked about as well. Do you feel that the industry and our participants are willing to adapt and move towards that, what the future could hold for our industry?
I think they have to, right? There's a lot of, the older people don't maybe want to do this, but I'm older. I learned how to run. When I first got this job and they gave me a BlackBerry, I went, I don't want this. I want a flip phone. Now I got, I can do anything on a computer within reason. And so, I think everybody adapts. But getting people like what we're doing here with this Facebook, it's getting them out there in the media, our media, like the internets and stuff, get people watching and to become fans again. And I think that's what this has done. I mean, there's a lot of people probably. We get a count of how many people are on here at one time, but that might turn over 5 times or 6 times. Who knows? At least it doesn't say 0, so somebody's watching.
Happy so far with the series, and is it something we could look at maybe expanding next year?
I'm happy with it, but I can't speak for next year. I might, who knows? I mean, there's, I have a board to answer to, but sure, after it's over, I mean, you look at it, and what else are we going to do? Buy snow cones?
They'd be good today. It's pretty hot here.
We've done that before too. Yeah, I don't know how well it worked, but I really like the social media stuff, and I was never on Facebook till a year or so ago, and I probably spent too much time on it. But you get the beeps, and you're on there, and you're answering questions, and sometimes you just got to put it down at night and go to bed because they'll just. Oh, and that's good. All race people that remember more about the '80s than I do, I guess probably, but.
Well, we thank you for taking the time out
welcome.
to join us here this afternoon. Big thank you to COSA once again for sponsoring what was initially a 3-race series. So today is actually a bit of bonus coverage with this, and we're glad that you could join us today as well. Time for another commercial break, and we'll be back with some bonus coverage from Legends Day at Clinton.
And thank you, everybody, for doing this.
Harness